This is a wandering hour watch. These types of watches have been popular in the past couple of years, so how is this Olto-8 Roto going to stand out from the rest? When I did the unboxing of this watch, I mistakenly said that Olto-8 made this Roto the improved version of their previous Wandering Hour watch. But then when I look at their collection, there's no other Wandering Hour watch from Alto 8. So that makes me think now I may have, sorry, Alto 8, I may have mistakenly thought of another brand who used the same Wandering Hour complication. Now, of course, that goes to show that there's so many other brands now in the microbrand arena that making use of this Wandering Hour complication when back in time it was such a rare feature in a watch. But what makes this Roto from Alto 8 different is that it's a lot more elegant, classier, and a lot more compact compared to the other Wandering Hour watches that I've reviewed so far. So, is that enough to win me over someone who, like, not only loves the color blue, but at the same time loves smaller, dressier watches? And would this really be a good alternative compared to the other brands? Well, you might be convinced too, based on what you're going to see and based on the value that you're getting from this Alto 8 Roto. The microbrand arena is where you can really get the most creativity for the value of your budget. But prior to the emergence of microbrands, the value versus creativity proposition is heavily positioned in the thousands of dollars. MBNF, JLC, AP, and other brands that are as hard to pronounce as it is hard to buy are just some of the places that you can get these innovative and creative watches. Let's just say if you had to abbreviate their brand name, it must be expensive. This is why brands such as Alto 8 are finding their market because they're giving the common folks such as us the opportunity to enjoy these extraordinary ways to tell the time. One such example is the Wandering Hour complication. Once reserved for the elites of horology are now being enjoyed by thousands all around the world because of the Chinese manufacturers getting alarmingly good at producing these timepieces. This one, for example, from Alto 8 is an amazingly compact and elegant watch compared to the other Wandering Hour watches that I've ever reviewed. The operation is equally straightforward as the whole Wandering Hour gimmick is more than enough to grab your attention. You can even say that it's all about the execution on this one. Mind you, it's not perfect, and I could still find nitpicks on this style like a golden treasure chest washed ashore from Captain Bluebeard's skirt. Don't ask, just go with it. The back is also very uneventful, but there are some practicalities built into it, such as this quick-release spring bars. To this day, I would recommend all watchmakers to include these on their watches, as it multiplies the collector's enjoyment. For instance, as you travel with this Mirage travel roll on your seafaring adventures, you can bring along a number of straps that will suit the swashbuckling action that you're planning on having. I put together 3 other straps here that will likely pair well with the Alto 8 Roto. Bear in mind, this is not a strap monster and yet there's still much to experience with a quick strap change. Looking at this uncut demonstration, you can see how quick it is to switch between straps. I bet by the time that barmaid heard half of your pickup line, you would have been able to impress her already with this horological magic trick. On this equally pirated Hoyer racing strap knockoff, the combination is undeniably pleasing and sporty without sacrificing the classy appeal. That curvaceous case still manages to project its allure, much like how the glassbox Hoyers would sway any unsuspecting butler. It's also very nice to see that no extra strap would be dangling off as it's all tucked underneath your wrist. But what if you still want a more premium looking strap to match that unusual case? Well, Artem Strap is here to give that extra boost of premium impression. These white stitches just matches the white text on the dial favorably and it gives off a more aesthetically pleasant texture that its sailcloth material delivers. Add this leaf spring clasp and you have one incredibly luxurious combination. And finally, what about a full metal roto to rule them all? Well, I've got my favorite 5-link bracelet here and I'm sure it will elevate this roto even more. Just look at that thing. Now this, in a finer Milanese bracelet, can be the showstopper of any bar if I ever saw one. It certainly takes a little work and some research, but this Roto is a lot more wearable compared to the other wandering hour watches that I've worn. Beside the Atawak Tarantula, horrible name still, by the way, the dimensions are considerably more compact. The Tarantula has a more sporty and complicated structure, but both use the same time-telling principle. One can say that these are two very different watches, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day I find out that it came from the same Asian factory. Clearly, the Tarantula had a lot more work done to it, but we can also say that the Roto delivers the same impact with far less. Looking at how the Tarantula wears, smaller wrists will certainly feel the weight and impression of this piece compared to the Roto's classic dimensions. And this is where the Olto-8 excels, as they may not be the first to get a wandering hour watch there in the microbrand arena, but they certainly made the most wearable one. I know so because we also developed a 38mm classic case like this 6030 chronograph. In fact, despite being a mechanical watch, the Roto is significantly slimmer than our Mecha Quartz release. They should have closed that case back though, because there's not much to see from that Japanese caliber. Yes, I know the plates are at least machine decorated, but they should have at least took the extra effort at making that rotor extra special. You had some remarks during the unboxing video of this watch. Weed and Watches said that it's tough to read, but it's worth every penny. Mr. Zelos also agrees that this caseback should have been closed and not displayed. And Melvin Ramirez asked, how do you tell the time in this watch? Well, it's actually pretty easy. These wandering hour watches use only a third of the perimeter of the dial to tell the time. In this case, the top part has the minute scale, while the hour number is used to point at what minute it is on that hour. The rest of the dial is now left for aesthetic reasons, showcasing its design and texture. Aside from the rotor, there's some decent amount of details that you can enjoy from the back of the watch. Nothing special, but it's all there for your pleasure. In fact, I like the details on the strap more than the stuff on the case back. Mind you, this is not alligator leather, but it sure does come close to one, and it's pretty good to look at. Now, back to the dial, and there's more to discuss. Likely the biggest knock against the Roto is its very curved crystal that sucks in so much glare. I checked their website and their Kickstarter campaign, and they did have anti-reflective coating on this, but it doesn't seem to help that much. But for all it's worth, the dial remains very dimensional and filled with surface variations. I think this is one of the greatest strengths of the Roto. There's also that certain appeal of seeing mechanical parts on the dial, even though it quite literally takes hours to see the change. The numerals used here are appropriate to the classical look that it's trying to achieve outside of the complicated time-telling device. The tubular rehaut that it's printed on is also a welcome touch that plays with light beautifully. All of the curved glass parts work in harmony with each other that forms this theme that adds to its classical impression. Sometimes it looks excessive actually. All of these texts below are really just visual fillers that could have been left out to give a much cleaner and refined look. It in fact detracts from the gorgeous enamel surface just underneath this dial. And then there's the Lume that's, well, pretty weak at least for the review unit that I got. It's a fun watch that's executed at a more wearable and compact design. It can travel with you and look like any other watch that your skipper would wear. With so many wandering hour watches available now, it's hard to make something that will truly stand out. And stand out it did by being reserved and, well, simpler. There's a measure of appreciation to that, and I dare say it's the same appreciation that we have for the Star Wheel of AP. Although, while we appreciate that from afar, the Olto-8 Roto, on the other hand, is right here on our wrist. And that is the Olto-8 Roto. It's a very elegant and classy watch. It's very compact, and it's got that very nice and not so minimalist, but let's just say a classical look for a wandering hour watch. And of course, it harks back or homages the Audemars Piguet wandering hour watch that we've been lusting about, but without all of the high-end luxury pricing. Also, this is not perfect. It has so many, you know, um, what you call this? There are some other stuff that I don't like about the watch, especially that rotor. It's very bare. I know that the company is more than capable of making a much better effort when it comes to their rotors, but they have this very nice enamel dial and also very clean and compact lugs. Reminds me of a Moser as well. A slightly less refined Moser, but it all of this is in harmony with such a classy, elegant dress watch. So, what do you think? Did Alto-8 do good when it comes to this wandering hour complication watch, and also at the same time, that value really unbeatable? Comment down below. Let me know what you guys think, and let's see if what else Alto-8 is going to come up with. And they're starting to gradually improve on their designs. They're a lot less bulkier and they're a lot more refined. So I am interested in seeing what is next from Alto-8.